Hello and welcome to McLaren Media. Now, if you've been following along in my Project Zara series, then you already know what's happening. But if you're new to the channel, let me fill you in real quick. My 350Z failed its MOT on rust, the fans and the emissions, and I've had to take her off the road. Well, today I'm going to be tackling the dreaded kidney brackets. These are among some of the worst rusted areas on a 350Z, and well, mine, they are really bad. So yeah guys, that is right, it is time to tackle the kidney brackets. Now first of all, you're probably wondering why I'm dressed like something out of Mad Max. And well, the goggles, most importantly, they're for protection of the eyes, because I do not want rust getting in my beautiful eyes and ruining my gift of sight. Also, the mask and face covering, also because of the rust, but also because it is November and it is absolutely freezing. Cars always like to go wrong around this time because they know how much you hate getting out in the cold. But it's something I'm going to have to do. I'm wearing gloves. They're not very good. They're my COVID safe gloves because they have holes in the hands. And yeah, but this video isn't really a step-by-step how-to guide on how to change these. It's more of just a reference showing you how to do it, because there aren't many videos on the internet of how to do this. The problem I found when I was speaking to the mechanics that did the MOT was that they didn't really know what they were looking at under there. It's because they don't MOT 350Zs, well, ever really. So something you might find is that people don't really know what they're looking under there. So this is always a good reference video because no one knows what to call these. They're kidney brackets, member stays, the W brace, people call them the suspension mounting areas, blah blah blah. They've all got different kinds of names. So if you just want to show this to someone, or you want to have a go yourself, then follow along with me. You know, there's some things I left out of this video, some things I couldn't get, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so let's do this. We're going to be replacing the kidney brackets. So guys, remember you can do this on your driveway at home like I am, and of course then you're going to need a trolley jack and you're going to need a decent set of axle stands. But apart from that, you're going to need a pretty decent socket set, because remember under there you're dealing with the W brace. They've all got different size bolts. You're dealing with the splash shield that runs over the exhaust and driveline. They've got different size bolts. I wish I could remember what they were, but unfortunately they were so badly corroded they just sheared off instantly, which is why I chucked it away. You're going to need a 19mm impact for the big crown nuts that go on the subframe. You're going to need a 14mm impact for the big long bolts that go into the tub. You're going to need a pretty decent light, a good torque wrench, definitely an impact wrench, a chisel, and most importantly, a saw. Let's do this. So once I was under the car, I discovered the rust was way worse than I was told, and rust is usually more than skin deep, so I knew this was going to be worse once I took the W brace off. Firstly, I soaked the bolts and fittings in WD-40 special penetrating fluid to get rid of 17 to 18 years worth of rust and road salt all built up inside the fittings. Then start by taking off the W brace underneath the car. Be careful as this can be heavy. Once this was removed, I discovered the rust was even worse than I first thought. Remember, these brackets are part of the car's rear subframe and structure, so it's actually quite scary to see they're in such a state. There are two bolts that attach to the tub and two that attach to the splash shield that runs over the exhaust. Even these bolts were so badly corroded into the tub, I'm actually surprised they came out. Using an impact wrench, I was able to get the main nuts off the subframe bolts. This was extremely difficult even with a power tool. Once these brackets were actually out in the daylight, I could see just how bad this rust was. There is a splash shield that runs between the two kidney brackets. It goes over the exhaust and over the driveline. These can be badly corroded too, but you don't need it, so it can be ripped out. The proper way is to take the exhaust and the driveline off, but using my 5 mechanical engineering degrees, I decided to use the tried and tested method and just rip it out. Yeah, so guys, I'd just like to take a minute to say that now the W brace is off and the kidney brackets are off, this is now the second part of this job, which is preserving this car for years to come. The mounting points are quite rusty, not structural, but just a bit of surface rust. So I want to treat that, you know, if you're going to do a job, do it properly. Obviously 17 years, 18 years worth of road salt, it's going to get like that. So I've been recommended this Hammerite Coup Rust. Never used it before, don't really know what it does, you know, when it's working, but I've read some reviews, watched some videos, apparently it's really good stuff. You paint it on, it turns bluey black, and then it dries, and then apparently you can paint over it. The only thing is, you know, you have to treat the surface, so I'm going to be sanding and grinding back all the rusty surface metal back to the bare steel, and then coating this on, giving it a coat of paint, and hopefully that will seal it for years to come and it will look really good. So I definitely recommend doing this to any parts of the underside of the car. If you're going to the trouble of taking them off, do a proper job, guys. So let's continue with the video. Firstly, I used a wire brush to get rid of all the old surface rust around the bolt holes. Then, using a paintbrush, I painted on the crust and watched it go to work, turning blue then black as it sealed the rust. Once it was dry, it was time to reassemble. Having these brackets side by side just showed how bad this was. You may need help to reattach these brackets as they are heavy and the threads are long on the subframe. Align all the holes and reattach the 2 long bolts and the crown nut. Make sure to use a torque wrench to check the tightness, as these are subframe structural nuts and bolts and need to be torqued down properly. Once this has been done, all we need to do is reattach the W brace and align all the bolts up. The kidney brackets and W brace are now back on and tight, and the rusty structure has now been re-strengthened. So guys, that is it. The kidney brackets and the W brace and all of that has now been sorted on Project Zara. The rear is now re-strengthened. I was absolutely, well, if in any words, absolutely terrified that I was driving around with that looking like that for so long. I can't really describe to you how it looked in person, how the metal felt in person. It was really soft, you could see it was crusty. It was simply just falling apart in my hands. So I'm actually really glad that all of that came off, it all went back on, and the car is now completely re-strengthened back there, because this is the rear subframe you're dealing with. You know, if you don't really understand what that means, that is the entire rear section of the car with the suspension, the brakes, all that stuff is attaching to the actual car. You don't want that failing, because if that is sheared, while you were driving along, you can imagine that would have really compromised the structural strength of the vehicle, especially under load. If you're accelerating, you know, almost a 300 horsepower car, God knows what would happen. So I'm so glad that's been done. Obviously there's other problems I need to sort on the car. I've still got the emissions to sort out. The radiators still don't work in the fan, so they're in the post. They should be coming soon, so keep an eye out for that video. But as always guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it really helpful, because like I said, there aren't many videos of doing this on the web. So yeah, you know, use it as a guide, show it to people if you need them to help you with this sort of thing. But definitely I wouldn't recommend this if you're just starting out in car mechanics. But if you just want to show someone how it's done, then please feel free to use this video guys. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.